Good morning to all the students of class 12th political science. Myself Rahul Chauhan here, and I shall be taking your political science classes now onwards. But before I start my syllabus for class 12th of political science, I would take a quick revision of class 11th, what you did in class 11th. As here you can see, I have written here revision of class 11 textbooks. Here I would just remind you what textbooks you had and what were the topics you had already gone with. So part A, the book name was Indian Constitution at Work, and the part B was Political Theory. And in this part A, you very well know you studied about Indian Constitution at work. What was the need of the Constitution at that time? Why it was so important in a country like India, where there is so much of diversity. As you must have heard of a very famous phrase, "Unity in diversity." This goes with India very well. There is so much of diversity if we talk about religion, caste, culture, language, different ideologies, different likings for food, clothing, geographical areas, and many more. But still, we all are living together in a single country is just possible because of this constitution. In detail, you have learned and read all the provisions which are under this, which make India a single country living in so much of diversity. In this, you read about many topics like why and how constitution was made. You read about constituent assembly and how it was framed, and philosophy of the constitution as a living document, why we call it a living document. And you read about the right and duties of the Indian citizens, and you read about the system of the elections in a country like India. And you also read about the three organs of our government: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. You read about what do you understand by federalism, local importance of local government in a country, in a developing country like India. And then you later on went with this book, Political Theory. In this, you read about the major elements of a constitution, like you read about the importance and meaning of freedom, equality, justice, rights, citizenships, nationalism, secularism, peace, development. You very well know these terms, and you have read it properly about these terms in class 11th. So these two books were completely in relevance with India. But now, if you have a complete understanding of India, how India is governed in today's scenario from after the this independence era, now you will be reading class 12th. But in class 12th, you will be also reading world politics. So part 1 will be contemporary world politics, which will be read for the world politics along with its relevance with India, because India has a part to play with every topic of this particular book. But in the second part, we will be taking politics in India since independence, after independence, how we have taken up the different policies and plans for Indian government, for Indian people, and still it's going with the same methods. So but before this book, we will be taking contemporary world politics. So what I want here from you, and I want to tell you in the very beginning, what is the meaning of our book. Because before we start with the topics, it is very compulsory, you should know what is the meaning of our book, Contemporary World Politics. So I'm starting with the meaning of this particular book. Meaning of contemporary world politics. Here I have made the divisions for the meaning, so it shall be very easy for you to learn them and write it in your own notes. Here meaning. First of all, I'm taking just a single word. This is contemporary. This one. Its meaning is modern period. If you tell contemporary, it directly means we are talking about modern period or modern time. We can also see occurring in the present, whatever events are taking place in the current scenario till date. Till date, I will tell you a particular period, about which period we are talking about, which period is said to be as contemporary period or the modern period. I will just tell you that. But before that, you just need to know the meaning of contemporary: modern period or time, or the events or incidents taking place occurring in the present scenario. And then world, you already know. And politics is generally we call struggle for power. What are the struggles and events happening in current scenario as well as in the past going on for just to gain power and authority? To get power and authority is said to be politics. So the meaning is contemporary world politics, all the events happening in the world in the current scenario. So I've written a small note for you here. Period after 1991. please you need to remember this particular date, 1991. Period after 1991 is said to be the contemporary world politics, that is the end of the Cold War. This 1991, this year was the date when Cold War ended, and this particular after 1991, the period which is going on till date is said to be contemporary world politics. After 1991, whatever events are happening around the world in politics are said to be contemporary. But before 1991, that is 1945 to 1991, this period, 1945 was the year when the Second World War ended, and after the Second World War, Cold War started, and it lasted till 1991 when USSR disintegrated. Basically, your first chapter I just forgot to tell you is the Cold War era. So we will be studying what was Cold War. So period between 1945, that is after Second World War, till 1991, this was the period of Cold War. And after the Cold War, that is after 1991, is the period we are studying contemporary world politics. So before we study contemporary world politics, that is after 1991, I want you to know the basic history, what happened in the Second World War, and what were the things going on in the Cold War. So period after 1991 is said to be the contemporary world politics, that is the end of the Cold War. Here, if we want to study about the Cold War, we should know these two wars. There have been two world wars till date. World War One was 28 July 1914 to 11th November 1918. You need to remember the dates, please. And the Second World War was from 1st September 1939 to 2nd September 1945. In this book, Contemporary World Politics, we will be totally relevant, we'll be teaching and we will be learning totally relevant to World War II. This will be playing a great role, so you must remember the date, Second World War 1939 to 1945. Here the World War ended, Second World War ended, and a war started which is called Cold War, that is 1945 to 1991. And after 1991 is the period which we call contemporary world politics. So we will be reading the period after 1991, but before that we'll study about World War II and Cold War. Here at the last I have written a small point, how US dropped bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in a diplomatic manner, causing Japan to surrender. Here I am saying how the World War II in 1945 ended. It ended when US dropped a bomb, an atom bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which are the places in Japan. And the name of the two bombs were Little Boy was the name of the atom bomb which was dropped on Hiroshima, and the other name was Fat Man, which was dropped on Nagasaki after 3 days. Simultaneously, they were not exploded here. There was a gap of 3 days. Then there is a word used, diplomatic. US dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in a diplomatic manner. Diplomatic word is used here because it was said by the critics who were against US policies, plans and ideologies. They said that it was unnecessary to drop bombs on Japan, as Japan had already surrendered in Second World War in 1945. It was useless to drop bombs on them. But US in its defense said that it was really important to end the World War II as soon as possible, because there was lot of destruction, lot of loss of life and property going around in the world. So US wanted to end this war as quick as possible. So this is just the basic structure that what we are going to study in our first chapter. This was really important to tell you before I start what is Cold War. So Cold War period is from 1945 to 1991. Okay, so I will be taking your first chapter, first topic in the second part. Till then, thank you.